Sound like a little birdie.
That'll be me.
Okay, are we live? We live. I believe we are live.
Live on
Rashid, just confirming we are live. You could just send me a text. Let me know.
That was like do, 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 do.
Oh yeah, that's it right there. You caught that really well. Yep, we live. All right, y'all. Sharif right here with We Buy Black. This is the new Africa August free webinar series. We invited our whole community here for the whole month of August, 31 days, where we essentially want to build out this idea of what New Africa is for our community. We know in previous sessions, we talked about New Africa, the term New Africa, its importance and significance for us as a people, essentially as a new people, with new aspirations, although we are still connected to our history. We can never let that go. But today, we have a special guest with us. We have our sister Maimuna Yusuf. Give it up for her. Give it up for her. I know we don't have a little
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
claps and everything.
Hype me up, hype me up.
Hey, so we are really excited to have you on, sister.
Thank you so
We
much.
follow you. We respect you,
Thank you.
and we know that in the music industry, as a woman who has a stance, it can never be easy, right? It can never be easy. So we can only imagine. I know quite a few sisters in the music industry that have a stance, that have a backbone, that have a stance, and it's really the same. Um, Really the same story, of how difficult it is to even get played, to even get recognized. But you have built a solid following over the years, and the people really respect you. They follow you, respect you, and they love you.
Thank you.
Your social media gets really good engagement, and people that I've known follow you for quite a while. So I want you to introduce yourself
Mhm.
to our community. People are rolling in right now, but and
Okay.
just in some good time, we'll have quite a few numbers on here. So let them know who you are and what you got going on, sister.
Peace, family. My name is Maimuna Youssef, also known as Mumu Fresh. I'm a singer, songwriter, MC, activist, teacher. What else? Producer and engineer. I just got certified as an engineer.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and I'm a community member,
Yeah.
and I do music as healing work, and I'm a big fan of We Buy Black.
Hey.
Everything that you all are doing is just it's beautiful. It's timely. It's necessary. It's the present and the future. So thank you for having me.
Okay. See, now I don't heard member, future. Where you from? I'm assuming it's up north somewhere. Where you at?
Yeah, I'm originally from Baltimore by way of DC.
Okay.
I split them up. They fight over me sometimes. I was born in Baltimore though, but I moved to DC when I was like a preteen. So
Okay.
I lived in DC for a long time. So they
Okay. Okay. What part of DC?
I lived everywhere: northeast, northwest, southeast. I never lived in southwest. But yeah, I've been all over the
All
city.
right, that's what's up. That's what's up. I'm from Southeast. Born
Okay.
and raised Southeast DC, right off of Alabama Avenue, Ridge
I
Road.
was just there yesterday for at the Arc. I just
Okay.
did the DC Love Festival.
That's
I
what's
know
up.
Black Love Festival. I'm sorry, Black
Black
Love
Love.
Festival. Yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So, yeah, born and raised there. My parents shipped me and my brother to Atlanta because
Okay.
DC was just getting real rough, and they had a
Oh
school
yeah.
here in Atlanta where we could attend. Um, and then after I graduated there, I moved back to DC to go to Howard University. So I finished there, and now I'm back here in Atlanta. So I've been back and forth,
Yeah.
pretty much all my life. So enough about me. Let's talk about you, right? Let's talk about you. You got a lot going on,
Oh.
um, and this session here is titled "Words Make People."
Mhm.
Words make people. When you hear that, like, what comes to your mind when you say words make people? Like, how do you feel about that? Do you agree with that? What comes to your mind first when we say words make people?
I think the first thing is you are what you say you are. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I have mantras and affirmations that I say to myself every day to help create the person that I am, the person I'm becoming,
That's right.
in my journey to being the highest version of myself.
Mm,
Yes, I know I am what I say I am. If I say things about myself that are not the truth that I want to live, that
mm,
becomes my reality.
mm,
Even in my songwriting, like it may be times where I'll write something that sounds dope, but I have to ask myself, do I want that reality in my life though?
mm.
And do I want that for someone else? And if I don't, then no matter how dope it is, I can't put that in the song.
That's
You
what
know?
I'm talking about. See, now that's actually, so when we say words make people, that's really what we were speaking to.
Yeah.
Because as you know, we say words make people, and then it's shaping our community through the arts, shaping our community through the arts. Um, our words are extremely powerful. We even know when we say, a picture tell 1,000 words, right? And when we say words make people, it's like, yeah, you are who you say you are, and what you tell other people. Like if we raising children and we constantly telling them, look, you stupid, you dumb, you ain't gonna be nothing. That's what they gonna embody and that's what they gonna
Mhm.
feel.
Yeah.
There's a book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, Joy Leary, and she talked about how African American women rooted from slavery would degrade their own daughters. During slavery, they would do it because they never wanted their daughters to appear as beautiful or to
Hmm.
come off as beautiful. Because if they ever was to show any sense of beauty, then that
Right.
would be attractive to the
Mhm.
master.
I get it.
Um, and therefore, they expose themselves to being raped. So when the white slave master would come around, they would say things like the mothers would say things like, oh, master, you don't want her, she's ugly, look at her, she's stupid, she's dumb, you don't want her, take me instead, I'm more beautiful than her. So this was a part of the psychology that has developed, and we could see a lot of that. I know, we grew up in DC. I saw when I was growing up, I would hear things like that from women. So Joy Leary had connected that back to slavery.
Mm.
And I wanted to speak to that, and speak to the music that we hearing today on the radio. Do you see any connection between degrading women, like personally in our families, in our households, in the Black community, degrading women, and then any type of connection to that degradation in our music?
Yes. I mean, people always say that, right? Life or art imitates life. And I do think that's extremely true. But when you have art intercepted by a recording industry that has an agenda to keep Black women in particular uneducated, feeling devalued, feeling unworthy, or feeling like their only value is their body, and never even tapping into the potential of their mind or their spirit, um, then it's like the natural evolution of the art is interrupted. It makes it inauthentic. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of artists and artist labels and artist advocates will say, well, artists are just reflecting the streets. Okay, well, yeah, but that's not the totality of the streets. They're reflecting a certain demographic, and that is a demographic that um, yields income. You can make money off of that. And why? Why is that section so lucrative? Because I always felt like the way I was raised, I never saw myself reflected in mainstream music, media, entertainment, film. We grew up Pan Africanist, and it was a lot of us. We was homeschooled. My mom is, part Native American, so I grew up going to the Indian Center, dancing in the powwows. I never saw myself in the intersections and the cultural diversity that was in my community. My brother is he's Ethiopian, and so I grew up with their family. I never saw it that reflected. You might have had that one conscious person who was always overzealous and doing the most, right? So the fact that they'll say that that's just art imitating life is not accurate. They
Mm-hmm.
have decided there's a certain section of life that they want to magnify, and what
Mm-hmm.
it does is create more in its image.
Yeah.
Even with the type of music that's awarded, that will be the type of music that young people will say, oh, okay, let me follow that blueprint. That's the blueprint for success. Then let me do that. You'll be amazed when you meet artists who make some of the raunchiest music that they don't live like that. That their art is not reflecting their lives.
Mm.
They'll say the most ridiculous things imaginable, and when you go into their house and you see how they deal with their families, it's completely different. So why is it okay for you to influence my family like that, but you won't even let your family listen to it? You
Mm.
know, so I just think it's just not, I wouldn't be bothered by it if it was a natural evolution, a natural reflection, but it's not. It's very much rigged and very calculated, you
Mm.
know, and there's a reason why that type of music, you know, drug culture, stripper culture, murder culture, is lucrative, and
Mm.
things that are positive and progressive, they won't allow it to push through, you know, like there'll be so many gates and gatekeepers that they won't even let you promote it on the radio, you know.
Mm.
And they'll say, well, people don't want to hear it. I mean, I was working with a publishing company years ago, and I remember them telling me that Black people don't want to think that hard. Don't give them too much to think about because
Mm.
they can't think that hard, you know?
Mm.
And I said, well, if you never allow young Black kids to think, of course they won't know how to use their minds. And it's just like if you've been drinking Kool-Aid since you was born, you're never going to want water,
Right.
you know?
Right.
Um,
Mm.
so yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's up though. I mean, that's what's up. It's like, you know, I think that there's a great responsibility that we have, right? Particularly those in business. Um, we have an obligation to really put our money and our influence behind artists like you, right? Um, we have to really set a budget aside for like artists like you,
Mhm.
um, because really, for those that believe as we believe, there's a way to show that. There's a way to show that. And I was just speaking with a brother this morning who's interested in starting an online school.
Mhm.
And he was looking at ways, creative ways to have that funded.
Okay.
Um, and I was thinking to myself, I said, well, look, I believe in what you're doing, right? Matter of fact, things like a really nice car, really nice house for those that grew up like me and in our community, that's not attractive. That's not what we go, that's not what we live for. But seeing artists like yourself speak to our daughters, speak to our brothers, um, spark something in their minds to change, to really be different, be greater, then that's really where our pleasure comes from.
Yeah.
Now you have a song, Say My Name.
Mhm.
And it was when I was listening to that song, so your connection and Say My Name, because when I first saw the title, I was thinking about Beyonce, Say My Name, Say My Name. So I'm like, but you was on a different page. You was on a total different page. Whereas that, when one of our brothers and sisters die in the street, we make a hashtag out of them, right? We go on the streets, we chant their name, right? And we say their names, say their names. But your song was talking about more so if this was to happen to me, right?
Yeah.
If this was to happen to me. Speak to that song. What made you create that song?
Yeah, well, because I was just seeing this lack of empathy for her life. You know, I was seeing people like it was just too easy to scroll past what had happened and say, oh, that was messed up and keep it moving. Or even worse, I kept seeing people say, well, she was talking too much, or she lit a cigarette, or she shouldn't
Mm.
have had an attitude and she'd still be alive. Like death is not justifiable. You can't justify death like that by whether she smoked a cigarette, had an attitude, didn't have an attitude. That's not how the law works. It's supposed to work, right?
Exactly.
Um, and I was like, sometimes people can't feel what you're saying until they're in your shoes. And
Mm.
I wanted when people sang it for you to have to put yourself in that position. And how would you want someone else to empathize with you? Would
Exactly.
you want them to tell your story? Because I mean, it's amazing how when Black people are murdered, how they become the antagonist. Like they become the aggressor. Like everything they've ever done, they pulling out records from elementary school. That one time they threw trash down the hall.
Right.
Trying to
Right.
justify their death. They're bringing out everything imaginable, and it
Mm.
still doesn't matter. It
Exactly.
still doesn't matter. They don't deserve to die.
Exactly.
Um, so yeah, I just wanted people to empathize, and I felt like her story wasn't being magnified as much as other stories at that time, because I wrote it right when it happened, but I did not release it yet. I was like workshopping it because it was leaning on my spirit, like when I was like creating it. it's like I was feeling out what it needed to be, what harmonies need to be there, what key it need to be in. And every time I would perform it, I would do it a different way as I was like massaging, you know, the lyrics and the vocals and everything. And I wanted to do the first part in a doo-wop style, right? And I want the second part to go into a hip hop vibe, because that's just how I see these things connected. Because I know doo-wop, when African people in America would sing doo-wop, they would pour out liquor to those who had passed before them. That's the African tradition. And they would sit in these circles and just tell their pain, just pour out their pain. Because how, like, I can't keep living like this. I won't be able to move forward if I don't filter some of this hurt through song. You know, and the more you sing it, even for me, the more I sang it, the more I could make peace with the fact that I'm still here living in the belly of this, you know, and I saw my own reflection in her. But when I would scroll down on YouTube, the things that people would say, I mean, I was just so enraged by this idea that Black women talk too much. So anything that happens to us is our fault, because we always got something to say. Look at us trying to think again. And it was just like, I just couldn't take it. And I was like, how do you, when writing music that's activist music, you want to figure out how to communicate your point to a person that doesn't want to hear you. They don't want to hear you. So how do I reach inside of your heart and grab it and bring you here and say, now do you hear me? Can you feel it now? Do you feel something now? Because we are so desensitized. And because I grew up without a television, right? My mom would not let us watch television when we was growing up. She said it would make us buy into American culture too much. So we didn't have no radio. No, I mean, we had like music and stuff, like tapes and CDs, but we couldn't like listen to the radio. We couldn't watch regular television programming. So we very much grew up inside of our own reality, you know, very self-referring and creative and everything. So even now when I watch movies and there's murder in movie, I can't take it. It's too much for me. But if you grew up always seeing murder all the time, it seems like there's nothing wrong with it. And the value of a life, it loses it's you know, its value. And so that's just what I wanted to communicate. So, I mean, everything about that song is very intentional, because it was directed towards those groups of people who could not identify with her humanity, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so that's how that song came to be.
So was your mother a singer? Was your father a singer? Like, how did you pick it up?
Yeah, my mother's a singer. My grandmother's a singer. My great grandmother's a singer. All my uncles. My grandmother. So I grew up singing like a lot of different styles of music. So my mother had converted to Islam, and she converted my grandparents to Islam. So I didn't grow up in like the Baptist church like most people grew up singing in the Baptist church. Now my grandmother is Choctaw from Mississippi. So she would teach me traditional Native American songs when I was small. A lot of these songs were against the law until like 1978. The songs, the ceremonies, any kind of practice of Native culture was against the law until the Freedom of Religion Act was passed for Native Americans. And you know, so a lot of people who will say, you know, I think my great grandmother was Native American. I remember we said we had some, but nobody wanted to talk about it. There's a reason they didn't want to talk about it, because it was illegal. So a lot of Native people, indigenous to America, would just pass as colored, you know, because you know, we was brown anyway, especially the southern tribes. We came up from the Yucatan Peninsula, and we lived outside in the sun. We was already brown when the fake founder of Richmond described the first Native Americans that he encountered. He said they looked like Ethiopians. They copper colored, you know. So they just all passed as colored because the U.S. Census would not allow Native people who did not live on the reservation to claim any rights to the land. So they could not be considered legally Native American anymore if they didn't live on the reservation. And then lots and lots of Native people were shipped to the West Indies for slavery, and to Europe and other places, wherever they wanted to ship them to, like the Nottoway tribe, Nat Turner's Nottoway. The Nottoway were shipped out of the country after that, you know, revolt, you know. So anyway, so I grew up learning those songs and those stories, because now it was legal. And so my mother and my grandmother were going back to reclaim all of those ceremonies now that they, you know, became legal to practice in public. So I was learning Native songs, African songs, jazz standards, you know, and hip hop.
I heard you singing some jazz before it came on here. It was real jazzy.
Oh yeah, my mom was she a real legit jazz singer. Like she, you know, She could take Sarah Vaughan on for sure.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
she like that. She like that. But you know, my mother left the music. She was Tommy Mottola's first artist, but she left the music industry because she was like, it's too demonic. And she converted to Islam. She joined the First Resurrection, and she was like, I can't go back there and be with them. And
Mm.
so it's like I'm kind of like carrying on her torch that she started because
Right.
it wasn't at that time. She couldn't do what I'm doing now. She couldn't just say, well, forget y'all structure, y'all industry. I'm gonna go and create something of my own over here. I'm gonna be independent and I'm gonna build this and that. And you know, like for me, if a major booking agency or you know one of those, I ain't gonna call no names, but one of those major organizations don't book me, I don't. Okay, I'll book my own tour. I'll buy out every club everywhere that I'm going and put on my own stuff because I bet on me and I believe in me. And my numbers do so well that then they gotta look back and say, hey, can we have a conversation? Oh, you want to talk now, don't you?
Right. Right.
See, we got nothing to talk about now because now I know you're gonna offer me less than what I'm worth because I don't already seen it. I know my numbers.
Wow.
But that wasn't possible for my mother. My mother would travel down to the South and couldn't even stay in a hotel because she was Black. You know, they had like, you know, Black people would open their homes to artists. You know, this must have been like late 60s and 70s in the South. You couldn't just, you know, it wasn't a lot of places that was like it must have been late 60s. It wasn't a lot of places that would take Black people in hotels.
You know, I remember when I was young, I remember seeing a picture of my great grandmother. She was sitting down and my grandmother was standing right next to her. But my great grandmother was very, very dark skinned, but her hair was very straight. And I had asked my grandmother about her, and she said Indian. You know, she said Indian. She's Indian. And I never really like looked into that, you know, that part of our family heritage, you know, but I know it exists, you know, and I know that exists with her. I wanted to go back a little bit, right? Back to your childhood, back to your upbringing. What are some of the things specific? Because you saying like, I mean, you didn't listen to TV, you know, I mean, you didn't watch TV, right? I'm assuming you wasn't really on the radio like that, right? So all of your musical genius came from your parents and your family?
No, I like my influences growing up was like Nina Simone, Lethan Bulu, Mary Makeba, Huma Sakela, Fela Kuti, Bob Marley. And then when I was about 10 or 12, you know, my brother really got me into hip hop real hard. I used to had to battle rap him in order to sit on the front steps every day. So he got me into the Wu-Tang Clan, Sons of Man, Helter Skelter, Outkast. And then I got into Common and what you call it, Black Star and you know, the Fugees and da. So it was always music being played in the house, but it was curated. Like, you know, a lot of my friends, they'll say like, well, I can't stop my kids from listening to this and that. I don't know what y'all talking about. I wish my son would try being here playing something that I don't approve of. It's not gonna happen. And that's very much how my mom was at home. It was very curated, the things we could listen to, especially as my voice was developing. Like my mom didn't let me do embellishments, like vocal acrobatics, you know, runs and stuff like that. Until I got to be a certain age, she said, work on your tone first. Your tone pure, like pay attention to how your body feels when you hold one straight note. Pay attention to your vibrato, pay attention to your breath. So she would tell me like, you can't listen to singers who aren't good singers. They will steer your voice in that direction, even if you don't realize that. So whatever groups that was out at the time, they couldn't be played in my house. If you wasn't, you know, Sarah Vaughan, Nina Simone, you wasn't Ella Fitzgerald or, you know, she let me slide with like she liked Lauryn Hill. I was happy about that. I was like, Mom, she means so much to me. Please let me play Lauryn Hill.
You was with Common, right?
Yeah, you said yeah?
So you went on tour with Common, right?
Oh yeah, I toured with Common for years, 3 or 4 years.
So coming up, you listening to Common, you're a fan of Common. How did that end up happening? Crazy? Yeah, that's crazy. Like you talking about like
I know.
Common, now you on tour with him.
You know, my first time meeting him was like maybe 06. And I remember like James Poyser took me to the studio, to Sony Studio in New York. And I think him and Kanye was working on the B album. And I was like, I'm so nervous to meet him because I remember writing down his rhymes when I was a kid. Like my mom would let me study their raps as my literature homework, like in homeschool. I could be like, you know, can I can I rap for
So you was homeschooled?
language arts? Huh?
You was homeschooled.
Yep, up until 10th grade.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah, so I say, Mommy, can I study rap music as my language arts today? And she's like, sure, baby.
Mm.
Sure, as long as it's revolutionary. And so yes, I used to like write down. I used to love her and just different raps of his from One Day to All Make Sense album. So now I'm sitting in the studio with him, and I'm like, oh my god, I wouldn't even speak to him. I was like, I can't
Mm.
talk to him. I used to write his raps, and so I was recording all these hooks. They giving me the music they wanted me to do. So I'm just in the studio, me and Bilal, and I'm not speaking to nobody because I'm so shell shocked. And then Kanye comes up to me and was like, rap something. I heard you can spit. So I'm like, my heart racing. I'm like, I gotta spit, right? So I spit something else, spit something else. So I'm just going. He's like, all right, you good. I was like, all right, cool.
Mm.
So I recorded this stuff for the album, and then yeah, it was like, and then we ain't talked no more for like years, you know. And then I was on stage with Femi Kuti because I had just come back from Nigeria. We did a whole tour in Nigeria, and I came back to America with Femi Kuti, and we was on stage at Sound, what's it called, in Central Park in New York in the summertime, Summer Stage.
Mm.
And Common was filming some movie, and he was like on, you know, taking a break from the set, and he walked by and was like, hey, how you been? You know, so I came off stage, we chopped it up. He was like, man, you should come do this gig with me in Canada next week. And I was like, all right, send me the flight. And then I did that show, killed the joint, and he was like, hey, can you come do Rock the Bells? I was like, cool, send me a flight. I went to Rock the Bells, and then, you know, I just stayed on tour with him for years after that.
Wow.
But it's the same thing like when I met Mos and Kweli. We was on tour in Australia, and Mos had just performed before us. And I didn't really, you know, I stayed. I'm kind of introverted. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm introverted. So I just mind my business on tour. I don't really interact with a lot of people. But so DJ Dummy, he's scratching the do 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 do, right? And I'm like, they're about to play it, you know what I mean? And Mos is like on the side of the stage, like rapping to himself, right? He got all these like roses in his hand. He like throwing roses on himself, whatever. Right? He's in his zone. And then Common just turned around to Dummy, and then he look at Mos. I was like, it's about to happen. And then I gave Mos my mic, and the new moon rose high on the crown of the metropolis, shining like who on top of this. I was like, oh. I had to really like focus because I was like having a straight child fan moment because I was like, man, going back to words, right?
Yeah.
I'm living inside of my childhood manifestation. Like I wrote they rhymes down and practiced they rhymes in the mirror, and I'm literally on stage with them spitting these same rhymes that I wrote down, and on some mutual respect. You know what I mean? Like I'm not in the audience. I'm not like, oh, bring a fan up and see if they can rap with him. Like I'm being paid to be here. Like, you know what I'm saying? 5-star hotel accommodations. Like I was like, wow, this is deep. Like the power of manifestations is true because I wrote these very things down and I'm living the manifested reality of my words. You know,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
The living word.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So I'm like, all right, well, let's do this because I want to make sure that people are like filling up these comments here. They have a lot of questions for you. So I'm going to start with the first one that I see here.
Okay.
So, and they sending it to me from Facebook too.
Okay.
So one says, like, how can women do a better job of uplifting each other in the music industry? Like, how can they do a better job at that? I'm assuming that she's, you know, saying that they're not doing that.
How can women lift?
A lot of people on edge because of this WAP thing too, you know, so keep that in mind like, when answering these questions, you know, so how can women do a better job of uplifting each other in the music industry?
Is she mean on a business level or like a moral support or?
You know what? I'm assuming that, you know, people are thinking that women just aren't uplifting each other as much as they should. I don't know if that's just a woman thing, a Black woman thing. Is that a Black thing, right? Period. So maybe let's look at that question a little bit differently. Let's look at that question like, how can we uplift each other? You know, or those artists that are in that industry, in the music industry, how can you all uplift each other? How would you, you know, Common uplifted you, right? Brought you on stage, took you on tour. How can other artists, you know, work with each other to make sure that they're uplifting each other?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, I think people don't realize that a lot of us are close. Like me and Rhapsody are very close. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
We spend a lot of time together. Me and Cyrock are very close. Like we
Mm.
recorded records together. Me and Mama Soul. You know, me
Yeah.
and Rod Brown. Like a lot of these artists, we know each other and we're cool with each other.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't always see us collaborating, it's not like it's beef. It might just be we working on different stuff. And then I also think you got to understand too, in terms of lifting each other up. See, people got to be in a position to lift somebody up. Sometimes you may think people are in a position that they're not in.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And people are basically trying to keep themselves afloat and don't have the resources or the
Yeah.
positioning like you think they do to
Yeah.
be able to lift somebody else up. So, I mean, for me, I just feel like what I would just like to see women in the industry have is more business autonomy. You know,
Mm.
I remember when I was first getting in the industry, people kept saying, well, you're not going to make it as a female rapper if you don't have a male co-sign. Like, you need a man to financially back what you're doing and vouch for you and say that you're good enough to be on.
Mm.
And okay, I guess, but I've always been like, I just don't. If I sat around waiting for people to do what they would say they was gonna do for me, I'd never have anything. You
Yeah.
know, like I told you about the tour. I was waiting to see if I was gonna get these companies to back this tour, and they didn't. So I did what I had to do. I bought out all the clubs just to stun on them. You know what I
Mm.
mean? But I've worked on putting myself in a position where I can do those things. Like I work, and I have to work harder. I'm sure you've heard this in the Black community. They say when you Black, you got to work 3 times as hard to be seen as half as good. And it's the same thing as a woman. So I
Mm.
know I'm going to have to work harder to have whatever you see on the top of the surface, right above the water. You have no idea the foundation that's built up under the water for you to see a little tip of an iceberg.
Mm.
But I'm cool with that because I know that what I do is intimidating to people. It makes people uncomfortable. You
Yeah.
know, there's certain sponsors I can't even work with because we're not in alignment. You know what I mean? There's
Mm.
certain investors. If you invested in Vanguard, who deals with privatized prisons, right? Most people who invest their money invest in Vanguard and don't even know what they're investing in privatized prisons. So because I'm real aware and intentional about different things that I'm involved in, my path is going to be very different. I'm not going to be able to take every opportunity and feel at peace about that. You know,
Right.
now on some level, all money, dirty money, because it transfer hands and you can't even stop where it's gonna go, right?
Right.
That current flows. But I would like to see more women having ownership over their intellectual property, over their masters, knowing what goes on in their contracts, being legitimate business owners. You'll be amazed at how many artists don't own a business. How do you not own a business and you are a business? They
Right.
don't know how their business works.
Damn.
You know, they can't function without um, a team of people who actually run the business and know how the business works. So that's what I would like to see. I think women could be of more support of each other if they actually owned what they were doing.
Right.
And really, you know, you hear people saying boss B all the time, but it'd be like, I
Yeah.
see your contract, not so much.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
it's not always what it seems like it is. Now, when you go the extra step to learn the business and to have ownership, like it pays off long term, but it pisses a lot of people off. You know, I've had many people say, "Who do you think you are? Why do you think you deserve that?" Oh, because it's mine.
Mm.
Who am I?
Right. Right.
Who are you to own my intellectual property? Why do you feel like you should
Yeah.
own my thoughts and I shouldn't? But those
Mm.
are the kind of conversations that we got to have. And normally in a business, the sentiment is, well, everybody has to get raped. Just go with it. Eventually, you'll be able to, you know, get ownership again, or period. Or so I want to see women in real actual positions of power where they actually making decisions and not just having to go along with somebody else's agenda in order to look like they in charge. So,
Mm. That's crazy. That's crazy, man. That's crazy that that's the actual reality that we, that y'all have to face. Women in this, women in the industry. That's crazy. Now we got another question. What can we do as a community to support independent artists to be able to do their own thing financially?
yeah.
Like, what can we do? Like, and I'm asking it. Well, they're asking this. I agree with the question. Like, and then after you speak, I'm gonna throw in my 2 cents of what I think we could do.
Yeah, like buy our music. Like I have music that plays on iTunes and Spotify and Tidal and different places like that, right? But a lot of times the percentages are extremely low of what they'll actually give us, right? Because they're taking a percentage because we have the honor of being on a platform and being accessible to people. So, but I also have music on my website that comes directly to me. But
Mm,
sometimes people don't like to like through Bandcamp, but people don't like to shop at new places that they haven't shopped before. Sometimes people are a little wary about, where they use their credit card, or like, oh, well, if I don't know that site, I'm just gonna go to iTunes, and that's
right.
fine. But you know, Bandcamp is is verified,
Mm,
and artists make more money through those kinds of sites. The only downfall is people's trust in those things. They're used to the brand recognition
right.
and not more focused on supporting the artist. So I would say, like, I have merch, I got music, I got, come to my shows. It's a bunch of ways to support independent artists.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I mean, we spend a lot of money trying to promote and market and make sure that people know what's going on. So yeah, when you see us doing stuff,
Well,
support, and I do have a lot. I'm not even gonna say like I don't. I do have a lot of people who come on my merch site and just like, like I was a friend of mine. She said she wanted to buy sage bundles. She was like, I'm tired of buying. I don't want to buy sage from Whole Foods. She
mm,
said, can you sell some, sage bundles? So I said, okay, let me, I'm gonna source them from the reservation in South Dakota.
mm.
I put together a sage bundle just for her, and but I put them up on the website with, if anybody else wants some, for your prayers and things like that. And a lot of people started buying them. I didn't realize a lot of people didn't know what they were for, that it
Mhm.
was for spiritual purification and for ceremony. So people would say, hey, look, I just bought 3. I don't know how to use them. I just want to support you. So then I started doing a tutorial, because it is very important that we understand the sacredness of the herb, and what they're for, why we use them. And I'm also very conscious about making sure that where I purchase the herbs from, that they're being replanted, that the agriculture is sustainable. All
Mhm.
of those things really matter. Now, you're going to take less of a profit margin when you care that much, but that's just on par with who I am as a person. And I feel like God will provide for me. You know what
Almost.
I'm saying? Yeah, like whatever, like, all right, God, I'm going to do what I need to do to be righteous.
Yeah,
And then, God, you provide the rest. You know
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying? And listen, I ain't missed a meal.
yeah.
I haven't missed a meal yet, so I appreciate people do come on and they support, even if they don't, sometimes they buy 4 and 5 different t-shirts, like they don't need all them shirts, right? But so I do appreciate that my fans are really like supportive and loyal. But that's what you can do. Like, find out, do your artists have merch? Do they, when they're performing, are they doing like, what I find is, especially during the pandemic, a lot of artists are performing on Instagram and they'll throw their Cash App up, and some people feel like it's like begging, or like it's I don't know. I just support,
Yeah.
Cash App them something. If you, there's little fair exchange is no robbery. It's an exchange of energy. If you felt uplifted by something they offered, slide
Yeah.
them something.
That's,
Like, so that's how I say support.
look, we want to make sure we slide you something, right? So
Okay.
tell everybody what your Cash App is, and let's have the team put it in the
Oh
chat.
Lord. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Tell them what it is. You know what I mean? What's
Okay.
your Cash App?
Now I'm getting bashful. It's just Moo Fresh. It's just
Moo Fresh, y'all. Moo Fresh. Team, if we could put that in the chat, Moo Fresh.
okay.
Yeah, look, ain't nothing wrong with that. That's what we got to do.
I know.
Yeah, that's what we gotta do. Look, if we could send everybody to show her the support. This is the way that we gotta show our support. Remember when before I asked the question, I said I had an idea, right? That was it. That was it. We need to get behind our artists economically. That's the way that we will start making things happen. My team on We Buy Black, we were just talking about how we wanted to, and we started to do it, how we wanted to start quoting different artists that are actually speaking words that's going to empower and change our community. And we actually started to do it. We'll get a nice little quote, and it's getting really good engagement. It's getting really good engagement.
Good.
So that's sending more attraction, more people. And I was thinking about earlier in the conversation, when you was talking, this is way earlier, when you was talking about how when one of our sisters or brothers get murdered, we start to look for.
Right. Well, what was they doing?
What did they do? Like, what was you doing? And it could be literally the most ridiculous thing, but it goes back to self-love, self-love. We devalue ourselves, right? We devalue ourselves, and when you devalue yourself, somebody could murder you, or somebody could abuse you. You find this case in a lot, and definitely in our community, especially amongst African American women who are molested at a very young age, and then they start to grow up thinking, what did they do wrong? What was wrong with them?
Yeah.
And a lot of the images that they are seeing is like, well, I'm not attractive, I'm not ugly, I'm not beautiful, I'm not wanted, right? I'm not valuable, I'm not precious. So when someone abused them, call them out their name, they may not accept that or want to accept that, but subconsciously they start to accept it, right? And then they become numb to it. Mm-hmm. So as they grow older, as you were talking about, we become numb to it, and we are desensitized to that. So as they grow older, it's like, look, I would, take any type of job at the strip club, or I take this, I take that. Like, I'm not worthy, I'm not dignified, I'm not precious. So I think that, having artists on the scene like yourself, and a lot of other sisters, Mama Soul, I run into her, I used to before COVID, run into her a lot down here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
That's my sister right there.
Mm-hmm.
But, you all really give inspiration to our community. And I think that the best way to show you all support and put you all in position where you all are comfortable to keep creating that art is to financially fund you all. So however many people view this, even if we got to boost it, right? However many people view this, let's go and support our sister, Maimouna Yusuf. She's Mumu Fresh on Instagram, Cash App, $ Mumu Fresh. Let's support her. Is there anything, I know that you have a busy schedule. Is there anything that you have to say to our community relating to words make people? We are who we say we are.
Yeah.
Anything that you would like to communicate to all of us as a community, and then also to artists that are in your position?
I think the most important words that we say are the ones that we say to ourselves. Because before we open our mouths and say something negative and nasty to someone else, we would have had to have already said it to ourselves. There's something that I study called cognitive behavioral therapy, and it is stalking your thoughts. Right? Because you got your subconscious mind and your conscious mind, and your conscious mind know better, right? Because the ego is involved there. So it's certain things you're not going to say in your conscious mind. You don't say it aloud because you're smart enough to know that it'll come off a certain way. But in your subconscious mind, that's where the truth lies. That's where that 0 to 7 age, where you absorbed your environment, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you processed it. How a small child will process something. It doesn't leave you. You just learn to cover it up, but you can tell by what you're triggered by that you haven't dealt with some of those subconscious belief systems that were created by how you absorbed your environment. And so what I like to do is keep a journal on me, especially during this time. See, a lot of people are forced to deal with themselves during COVID, and it's difficult. It's difficult because you don't have the distractions to kind of, I love being busy and being on the road. That first little month is like, woo, it's a little uncomfortable in here, right? Because no matter where you go, there you are. So I would take a notebook and write down my thoughts exactly as they came. You can tell the difference between your subconscious and your conscious thoughts, because the subconscious ones are the ones that when you write down, you're going to say, damn, I think that.
Right, exactly.
And that's how I feel. And you ask yourself, would you say this to a loved one? Would you let someone say this to your child? So why would you say it to yourself? And then once you write down what that subconscious babble, because a lot of times it's on repeat. They're like tapes, that are just playing. Sure. Maybe things that people said to you. Because it's funny that when we say self-esteem, it's not self. Those aren't normally things that we told ourselves. Those are things that other people told us that we put on as, a reflection of ourselves. So I would just start to write down whatever I'm hearing on that audio tape, that tape player in circles. And then I write the positive affirmation of it, and then repeat the positive affirmation every day until I dissolve that subconscious belief that I don't want to have anymore. And I claim dominion over that I have power over my mind. I'm the master of my mind. That's the first thing we got to do, is control our thoughts. It's very, very difficult to control your thoughts. And when you get into like meditation, like I just got certified as a level 2 Kemetic Reiki instructor. Okay. It's very difficult to control your thoughts, but you can't master nothing else about your life, because your thoughts become your words, and that become your action, that become your life. You can't master anything else in your life until you master your thoughts.
Mm.
So that's what I would that is my, I guess advice or my offering is to spend time with yourself, get to know yourself, get to know your thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
start to slow down that tape recording, rewrite it,
Yeah.
reframe it, change the perspective, ask yourself, is this truth? Because if
Mm-hmm.
it's not truth, it don't belong here. Is it true?
Mm.
Okay, so we know that's not true because this can't be true while this is true, right? So then we know this is not true. So we're gonna rewrite it. We're gonna wash this, and in love. I'm gonna
Yeah.
love you, and I love you, and I'm gonna send you on your way, right? Because there are a lot of defense mechanisms that we develop to survive, and then once you're past that stage of survival, those same mechanisms, um, they're not useful in thriving. The same mechanisms you use to survive are not the ones you need to thrive. So
Right.
you have to rewrite that because they may actually be a burden, right? Imagine like a homie who was
Yeah.
there with you, fighting people off for you, right? Like y'all was there getting money together. Now you want to build a legitimate business,
Mm.
right?
Right.
Now
Right.
you want to do things a particular way, right? You want to pay your taxes or whatever you're trying to do, build your credit. That
Right.
might not be the friend that can take that next level of this journey with you. And it's the same about your subconscious beliefs.
Mm.
Those beliefs help me. That anger helped push me where
Mm.
I needed to go. But I can't take that anger with me to my ascension,
Yeah.
because the weight of that anger holds me down.
Mm.
So that, and I mean that as a person, as an artist, all of that. In my writing, I see my writing change as I develop myself as a human being. Yeah, I have an online music education program where I teach singing, songwriting, rapping, music, independent music business. And I'm always like, the first step in becoming a better artist is to become a better human.
Mm.
That's the
Mm.
first step. Because the thing that the record industry left out, which is why so many artists crash and burn, commit suicide, become drug addicts, lose their minds, is because it does not deal with art and humans from a holistic perspective.
Mm.
We are not a one-dimensional. Mind, body, soul, spirit has to be a part of this thing in order for us to thrive and be healthy and survive this thing.
Yeah.
I was at a conference with a manager. He used to manage, I want to say Bobby Womack. He managed Joni Mitchell, Jimi Hendrix. And he said, I told all of them the same thing. I told them, if I do my job perfectly and get you everything that you asked for, it's probably going to kill you.
Mm.
But because I'm not perfect and I ain't going to get you everything you asked for, I'm only going to hurt you pretty bad.
Mm.
If I give you everything that you asking for, what you're going to have to do to get it is going to kill you. He said, and for some reason, they all still sign up anyway.
Mm.
And I don't know if that's just, our attachment. Andre 3000 says, why do we try so hard to be stars just to dodge comets? Right.
Mm.
And I guess I've always had this feeling that there has to be a way to have both, right? Because in the conscious community, there's this sentiment, and in the spiritual communities too, there's a sentiment that the root of all, money is the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. So we have this notion that in order for you to be God-like, then you must be poor as well.
Man.
Right? But see, that doesn't make sense to me when the natural state of existence is abundance. Go outside and count how many blades of grass there are.
That's right.
You can't do it. The natural state of all of God's creation is abundance. So if God is abundant, why would I not be?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's right.
So it's like having those types of conversations and reframing what is your birthright and your destiny, and speaking those things out, having those conversations, writing them down. If God, I wrote a whole song about it called Chasing Rainbows. If God is abundant and I reflect her wonder, then I deserve to live a life divine and regal. You know what I mean? But I'm fighting with the enemy. Self-doubt's the only enemy that's killing me. So I'm clearing up my energy inquiry. How do I embrace the ministry, my ministry, my heart and mind, my synergy? I'm keeping close proximity. And that whole verse was about this, what I'm doing in my mind. We having this struggle. We gonna meet every morning at 5 a.m. when the angels is there, and we gonna struggle with each other until I reclaim dominance and authority over my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's what I say, dude.
That's what I'm talking about. Look, we need, man, that's powerful. We need I don't know, my mind running right now because I'm thinking I'm thinking back to as a company, what could we do? Matter of fact, I don't know if you even thought of this already. You see us, you've been following us. What are some of the things that you was like, man, I just wish We Buy Black would just do this for us? Is there anything that goes through your mind at that time? Because if you could articulate that to us, then we could try to figure out how to make that happen, right? Like we're not just going to be talking for no reason. Like this can be more of a working session too. It's like, what can we do? And if you don't have it here, like to answer it here, of course,
you know what I would like to see is and you all might do it, but like classes on blueprints. That's one thing I think a lot of young people don't, it don't matter actually what age they are, because I teach a lot of people of all different, who are older than me, and they don't have any blueprints. They don't know the steps to take to get where they want to be. Like, I mean, part of what I want my legacy to be is that I left a blueprint for artists to be successful and to be free, you know, to be able to have control over their intellectual property, to be able to have control over their image and their marketing strategies, and to be who they authentically are, and not have to be someone different in order to also be successful. But for the trailblazers, life is always harder for the trailblazers, you know. For sure. You taking the machete and cutting everything out the way, and you make the path clear, and people may not ever know that you was even involved, and you may not even see the fruits of your labor, you know. And I would love to see the blueprint laid out where it's easier for artists to know what steps when you start in a business. Because one other thing I'll say, sometimes people feel competitive, right? Like can only be one, and they don't want to share their little secrets. Like, I'm not like that. I'll tell you anything you want to know, because it's not a secret to me, right? When I see you win, when you win, I win. So like, what are those steps to starting a legitimate business? What are your marketing strategies? How do you make that successful? How do you make that work? Because it's just, you know, I remember a particular rapper saying that someone asked him, what does he do to give back to the community? He said, I'm rich. That's enough. I showed you that it's possible. And I was like, that's not enough. It's not enough. And not only is it not enough, to me, my objective is not to see Black people be wealthy just so that we can become elitists and become oppressor-like. Like, there's no point then. Let's not even do this. Let's not go down this road. If we're going to replace them and be overseers to each other, that's not okay. You know, if we are obtaining this wealth, it's because we are developing and sharing an abundance consciousness with each other. You know, and then it won't be no crabs in the barrel. It won't be, that's poverty consciousness. That's not, you know what I mean? That's not who we are. It's just a state of being, you know, from just being socialized and traumatized in that way. So I want to see us win and become abundant, so that we know that we can give it away, that it's not to hold, right? That's you don't keep your hand tight so it can't come in and out. Like, I want to say this last thing that I was talking to my mother about this recently. There's something that a lot of Native tribes do called potlatch, right? And that's basically like, at the end of the year, you just give away all your stuff, whatever you accumulated. And it's part of where the whole Thanksgiving thing came from, even though they murdered us to set up their Thanksgiving, and then they like took little pieces and put it together and made their little ridiculous holiday. But anyway, part of the idea was a giveaway. That's like a Native tradition, to give away everything and start all over, to be detached, right? Do you know that they made this against the law? They said it was against capitalism. Like, it was a threat to capitalism.
Man, that's crazy.
Like, that is spiritual elevation, to get to the point where you are that detached, where you give it all away, knowing that God is going to bring you everything that you need. That's another level of faith that became outlawed.
That's crazy.
You can't give away your own stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Just think about the level that they go to. They you know what I mean? To like stop you from ascending.
There's billions and billions of dollars each year that's meant to stifle and hinder people like yourself from getting to the next level.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is. And it doesn't look like what we think it looks like. You know, it happens. A lot of it happens when it hits the subconscious of our people. Why don't we support her? Why don't we support him? There's billions of dollars put into the world to ensure that we don't do it. Right? So we have an obligation. It's not like the wars between God and Satan. The war is between us and Satan. That's between us and the enemy. So we have to be looking at the world and saying, you know what? They got a billboard to promote that agenda. How about we create a billboard to promote our agenda? Right? Yeah. What is it going to cost to do that? How about we create ads on social media, ads on these different platforms that's going to promote what it is that we trying to get to our community, what we trying to get out to the people. And that's the page I'm on. That's the page our team is on, right? So y'all gonna be seeing a whole lot of that. I want to give this one last question because I know you got it. This is our brother Javon Green on Green Love Kitchen here in Atlanta. My man, he says, Mumu, who are your top 5 artists that you will want to perform with if you were to curate your own concert? You have your own concert. Who are those top 5 artists you would like to be on there with?
Like living artists?
I think living artists. I think.
All right.
We might be able to make this happen.
Yeah, let me see. Man, I would be excited about rocking with Anderson .Paak, probably Kendrick Lamar.
Oh yeah.
I enjoy Solange. Jasmine. We actually did a show together recently. Jasmine Sullivan.
Man, that's sister when she was 12. I heard this song.
Oh, yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
I like this other girl too. Valerie June. You ever heard of Valerie June?
I haven't, but
she's so dope. I think she's from Tennessee. She like a country singer, black country singer. She's so dope. I love her writing. I think she'll be dope on there. And man, if we could ever get Outkast back together though, I would love that. Oh, and Raphael Sadiq.
So you made it like he said 5?
Sorry. I gotta do 5. All right, hold on.
Yeah, that's what's up though. That's what's up. So look, we're gonna have our convention, God willing, next year. I mean, of course, COVID-19 did what COVID-19 did. But next year we hope to have our convention. We want you there. We know we're gonna have you there.
I can't wait.
What I mean? Call your price, sister. We got a whole year to make it happen.
Okay.
Call your price. Javon, come on, man. Put your money up. Let's go. Let's make this thing happen.
I love what y'all do. It's so necessary. And I mean, I'm so excited to see it do so well. People have been so receptive, The Instagram be popping. And it's just like, that's a really beautiful thing. And it's, it's interesting, like just how there's the conversation around supporting Black business is so prevalent, and not just like, it shouldn't be a reactionary conversation. You get mad about this, now support Black business for 5 minutes. I'm seeing it be way more sustained now, and I'm really excited about that. And even the temperament, I think I saw on you all's page, you all were mentioning like give Black businesses the same courtesy that you would give other, businesses, Asian or white or whatever. Like, don't give Black businesses such a hard time or expect something to be wrong. And, the first thing that you jump to a conclusion that they're not professional or, kind of give them the same courtesy and let them grow, So I thought that was really good in terms of just shifting our community ethics, how we work together, that positive self-talk, be nice to yourself. You know what I mean?
Hey, that's the mission, sister. We have to show more love to each other.
Yeah.
If we don't love each other, we're not going to support each other. It's impossible.
This is not easy. Like it's really a real science to this thing, And I'm just saying, I've been a business owner for 15 years. And I'm always growing, learning how to manage people, manage time, manage expectation, manage workload. Like it's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult, So
definitely.
Give us a break. Help us grow better. Hold us to an accountability, but also be gentle while we growing.
That's right. That's right. So I know before we close, because I want to respect you and respect your time. How just closing out? I want people to support you. You mentioned that you have classes that people can join.
I'll put this in the chat too. The name of my
definitely. Let's put this university. In the chat. And then we want to make sure that this is shared to YouTube and Facebook. We want to make sure that we enter all of this information in. So everyone who's going to view it today and then view it later, make sure you take some type of action. If we got 2,000, 20,000 people, however many that's viewing this, take some type of action. If all of us take an action, then we will be supporting the sister the way that she need to be supported. That could be from, people wanted to know your not your Cash App. We got your Cash App, your PayPal. Some people ain't got Cash App, so we need that PayPal. Write your PayPal in there.
And they can also go to the merch store.
Go to the merch store, support the merch store. get the products that she's selling, buy her music on Bandcamp.
Yeah, if you go to my website, moonfresh.com, you can just buy the music directly from there. Yeah.
I know I ain't big on saying everybody's name, all these different sites and everything like that.
Yeah, but the links are all there if you just go to the website. But I'm just saying it is a better way to support artists because they take less.
Sure.
Like some places, like in order to get your music on Pandora, you got to give them like 40 or 50%. Yeah, it's it's robbery, but it's like there are not other options right now. That's our next thing we gotta work on, right?
And you already know it. Look, you see my mind. I'm over here looking over here.
I know.
I'm out running. So, but we may have brothers and sisters in our community that may be doing it, and they probably not know, right? Mm-hmm. So that's another call out. If this is the industry that you're in, where artists can go and set up online and sell their art, then reach out to us too, so that we can let our community know. We reaching 1.some million people. Yeah. Let us know so that we can let others know. But sister, we really appreciate you for coming on, for taking the time out to share with our community how important it is for us to, speak life to ourselves first. Speak life to ourselves. So this is New Africa August. This is what it's about. We have so many aspirations for New Africa August. This is the beginning of it. This is going to be our month. We have a month where we celebrate our history. This is the month where we're going to celebrate where we are now and where we're trying to go. Not to celebrate, but to think, to plan, and to take action now on where we're going. This is the time for us. So we really appreciate you, sister. Everyone who's watching, tune in for the rest of the month of New Africa August, 31 days straight. Today is the 20th day. So we have about 11 more days to go. Tune in. Sister, we appreciate you. We love you.
Thank you. So I appreciate you so much.
Most definitely. So with that, we appreciate y'all. Everybody take care. Peace.
Peace.